Okay, good afternoon, Liberty University students and class that we're taking on Jonathan Edwards. This afternoon, I'm going to talk about the discussion board Forum 2 Mod 2, which discusses Jonathan Edwards and the works that he did along with his contemporaries. You can, just a side note, you can find a lot of this information, which is really good information, on the Yale website online. You can also go to the Jerry Falwell Library online, and there's a lot of good information on there. Now, we're talking with regards to Jonathan Edwards' works. He had a lot of good works that he did, including some sermons, which I'll talk about in just a few minutes. But some of the works that he did, which I want to pinpoint on because they were really good, and I believe that a lot can be learned from these works. One was the charity and its fruits. He did Protestant charity, of the duty of charity to the poor, explained and enforced. You can also find that online text at the Bible Bulletin Board. A dissertation concerning the end of which God created the world was a really good one. Contains freedom of the will and dissertation of virtue, slightly modified to the easier reading. That was a pretty good dissertation that you can read on Jonathan Edwards, and it's really easy to follow along and learn a lot from that. He did distinguishing marks of work of the Spirit of God, which was pretty amazing work. Divine and supernatural light, immediately imparted to the soul by the Spirit of God, was a good one. Faithful narrative of the surprising work of God. He did history of the work of redemption, including a view on the church. Was really good because it really that focused on the views of the church, and also on the work of redeeming and redemption. The life and diary of David Bernard, missionaries to the Indians. I actually read some of that, and that was awesome reading, and I strongly recommend that if you want to know more about David Bernard, that you do read that one. The Nature of True Virtue. He did Original Sin. He did some thoughts concerning the present revival in New England and the way that ought to be acknowledged and promoted. So he had a lot of good ideas on how to make it better, make New England better, as far as the biblical and sermons point of view. And he also did another one of his works was called Religious Affections, and the Religious Affections was a really good piece of work. And I just want to talk a little bit also about the sermons that he did. There were 4 main sermons that he did that was really good. A lot of the text of many of Edwards' sermons were preserved for future generations. And just 4 of those sermons that I wanted to pinpoint. One was called The Justice of God and the Damnation of Sinners. The manner of seeking salvation, pressuring into the kingdom of God, and sinners in the hands of an angry God. Those were 4 of Jonathan Edwards' sermons that he did with the help of his contemporaries. And Jonathan Edwards really, throughout his career in the mid 1700s, early mid 1700s, his work was really stuff that's really hit hard at the heart of the people of New England, and not only New England but Connecticut as well. Since Jonathan Edwards did jump from pastoral work from one to another. He spent time in Connecticut and New England, and basically throughout his entire career as a pastor, he was an amazing pastor, and all the works that he did were incredible pieces of work. And I strongly encourage that you go on to the Jerry Falwell site or go to the Yale website, which really could really enhance your knowledge about Jonathan Edwards. So I hope everyone has a great afternoon, and I hope everyone was able to learn something from this short video discussion board I did. Thank you. You guys have a great day, have a blessed week, and have a blessed weekend.